welcome to the Haunted Library, my new channel, where I'll be doing book reviews, hopefully on a regular basis. Fingers crossed weekly, but regularly. Also, I might throw in the odd film review as well, but it'll mainly be book reviews. So, I'll be kicking off today with a review of The Mall, which is a book by the author, or authors, I should say, S.L. Gray. So, for those of you not in the know, S.L. Gray is a collaboration between Sarah Lotz and Louis Greenberg. Now, The Mall is book 1 in what they call their Downside trilogy. Book 2 being The Ward, book 3 being The New Girl. Now, I'll admit, going in, when I first read the blurb for the book, it sounded very Silent Hill. I didn't expect a lot. I thought it might be entertaining, maybe a cheesy Silent Hill style adventure. I was wrong. Really, really enjoyed this book. Cannot recommend it enough. Essentially, it's set in South Africa. We've got two protagonists. We've got Rhoda, who is originally from Britain. She's fled South Africa, fled to South Africa, obviously leaving behind her life in Britain and her parents, which are mentioned throughout the book. We don't know initially why. Again, as the book goes through, more and more of her backstory becomes apparent. Rhoda is essentially living with her cousin and essentially surviving on the fringes of society in Africa. She's a drug addict. She is very bad-tempered, she's got a very bad attitude, a chip on her shoulder, and she's prone to acts of violence. Now, Dan on the other side, or Daniel if you prefer, is essentially the polar opposite of Rhoda. He's very passive, he's stuck in a job he doesn't like, he's prone to whining, he lives with his mum still. His mum's got some money, obviously they live in a nice suburb, nice big house. He's stuck in a job he doesn't like in a bookstore. He fantasises about asking out the girls he works with, but he doesn't have the courage to do so. And he's got a boss that he can't stand up to. Now, the story really begins properly when Rhoda's gone to the mall. She's looking after a young lad on behalf of her cousin. She leaves him in the bookstore where Daniel works. The reason for doing that is that she's gone off to meet a dealer to score some drugs, like you do. Surprise, surprise, she comes back, finds the boy gone. She obviously searches the mall for him, she runs afoul of the security, and again, her attitude doesn't help. She finds herself in a room with them, and again, in an act of violence, managed to escape. They have spoken to Daniel in the meantime to try and find out about the little boy. He has just denied any knowledge of it. So Rhoda essentially finds him, follows him, and basically physically assaults him and threatens him with a knife in the underground parking lot in order to get him to help her find the lad. So they start searching the mall and they find themselves in the corridors behind the mall. And this is where I suppose the Silent Hill vibe comes in. As they start exploring the mall and getting further and further down the corridors, the atmosphere starts to change. They stumble across mannequins strewn around the floor in slightly, bizarre poses. And they start to, get the feeling that something's not quite as it should be. They also begin to be followed. Now, you don't see what's following them, it's always sort of on the periphery. Rhoda is quite adamant that they're being followed by a hobo. Dan thinks it's something a lot more sinister. But essentially this drives them further and further, or I should say deeper and deeper into the bowels of the mall, because they tend to, every turn they come to, they tend to go down, 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 down. As they go down, and this is really where the Silent Hill influences kick in, everything starts to get dirtier, danker, more sewage dripping out of the walls, rust, decay. They start to meet strange people. It just gets weird. They then start to receive text messages, slightly sinister, from what's called the management, and it's all around, shopping. Rhoda keeps getting these messages about shopping, Dan about getting a job. It's all kind of playing on, the consumerism of the mall that they're in. Now, as they go down, obviously they bicker, they don't like each other, but they slowly realise that they're going to have to form, if not a friendship, at least a partnership. They're going to have to work together, they're going to have to depend on each other if they're going to get out alive, or get out at all. Now, they do make it back to the mall, but it's not the mall as we know it, or as they know it. They start to realise things are slightly wrong. Just little things. They start to notice that the staff in the mall are overly enthusiastic. They start to realise, or they find out, that the mall staff are actually chained to their positions. The shoppers that they meet are, parodies of shoppers. Lumpen, misshapen, grotesque, overly made up. But they get separated and they slowly get seduced. Rhoda by 24-hour shopping experience, champagne lunches, a fancy pad to base herself. Dan finds himself in a slightly bizarre, slightly funny, slightly sinister job interview for a sales position in the very bookstore that he wanted to get away from in the first place. I don't want to say too much more than that. I don't want to go into much more in terms of any spoilers. I will say that the writing really was what really drew me in. I really hated the characters at the start, but that's intentional. As the book went on, and the characters obviously go through a transformation, through a journey, I really started to connect with them. I think of the two, Rhoda is the one that goes through the biggest change, and obviously, as I say, you start to learn a bit more about her backstory. If there is a main character, I suppose Rhoda is it. The breakdown of the story is also attracted to me. Each individual chapter, I suppose, is told from a point of view of Dan, then Rhoda, then Dan, then Rhoda, then Dan, then Rhoda, etc., etc. Again, to me, that helped keep it fresh, helped to keep it moving along. Again, the characters didn't outstay their welcome. You always got alternating points of view. The one thing I wasn't fantastic on was the ending. Now, I'm not saying it was a bad ending in any way, shape or form, just that it wasn't the ending that I envisaged. Ultimately, they got that happy ending. They just didn't get my happy ending. And I suppose ultimately, again, that is a testament to the characters. I invested that much time, that much energy in them, and I suppose I was rooting for them so much that I had this ending in place that I wanted for them. And I suppose I was disappointed they didn't get it. Now, as I've said, the second book, which I've just picked up today, is The Ward. And the third book is The New Girl. I don't know whether they tie in or not. I do know that throughout the mall, there is mention, I think 3-4 times, maybe a little bit more, of a place called The Ward, where the shoppers are sent. Whether that's going to tie in with this book or not, I don't know, or whether it's just going to be completely standalone. Until I read it, I won't know. What I will say though is, if you like your horror, you like your Silent Hill, you like something a little bit different, really, really, really recommend it. Give it a go. So, until next time, 2 thumbs up for them all.